Is there a moment that you've seen someone who you knew was kind of struggling with something, physical appearance, maybe just something personally going on, and you got them into that shoot, and either somewhere along the lines in that shoot or even after they saw the work, that you saw like a change in
Oh
them,
yeah,
like a weight lifted?
yeah. It happens more times than you could think,
Yeah,
especially with people who don't do it often. And a lot of times when they see the photos after they're done,
yeah.
they're so surprised that that's them,
Mm,
not because it doesn't look like them, because to us it, this is what we see.
yeah,
But to them, they've never seen themselves that way,
and they're like,
and
yeah,
so it does kind of create like a new level of confidence.
yeah.
Pink, pink, so pink, red, pink, red, pink, red, pink.
It's another season. We back. We back. Season 4 of the 9 conversations. 9 meaning now over never. We say now over never instead of now or never, because now or never gives you too many options. Y'all know that. We got a special guest with us today. He's a photographer, but he's an artist. I like to think of it as, because he does more than just take pictures. And you're going to see some of that today. We got Alex Harris with us. Good to see you, man. Good to
Good
see
to
you,
see you.
man.
Good to see you.
Got a chance to go to a gallery last year. If you all that follow me on Instagram got to see, I posted something a little bit earlier, 2024. Went to a gallery exhibit, I guess you want to call it, like an
Yep.
art show
Portrait
exhibit,
gallery.
portrait gallery. And I was super impressed, man. I got connected to the event by one of the guests from last season, actually 2 of the guests from last season, and just decided, like, I definitely want to always just make sure that I'm keeping myself around creativity, that inspires
Mhm.
me. And I didn't know what to expect. And when I got there, was highly impressed. His work is brilliant. And the non-conversations, we are trying to inspire people, man. So I'm just gonna ask you real quick, just to give us a rundown. Who is Alex Harris? What do you do? Where are you from? All of that.
Yep. So my name is Alex Harris. I'm a photographer, but like you said, I'm more so consider myself to be an artist.
Yeah.
Originally from Mississippi, I moved to Texas, I believe 2011. So it's been a while now. Started out in Houston
Yeah.
for about 7 years, and that's where I bought my first camera.
Yeah.
Actually, had no idea what I planned to do with it,
Yeah.
other than I traveled a lot. I used to see people with cameras,
Yeah.
and I always thought it looked cool. So I
Yeah.
just bought one, and I said I'm gonna start taking this camera with me when I travel.
Okay.
And then you got other friends that have businesses or whatnot, and
Yeah.
it started out with like, hey, can you come and take a few pictures of me in my business?
Mm-hmm.
Just like small stuff here and there. And
Yeah.
at the time, I was getting compliments on the photos, which is crazy, because now when I look back, the photos really weren't that good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to the people that I was doing that for,
Right.
they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Yeah. So let's go back to what we were talking about, or what I was asking about just a second ago. The art gallery that I attended
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year, the exhibit. I noticed that these were not just photographs, right? These are art expressions, I like to think. Very impressed, like I said, by what I saw, but there are people in them, and it seemed to be like a common art direction and a theme that you were threading through all of the photographs, even though they were all different. So how
Mm-hmm.
did you get even into doing photography or art in that way?
Yep. So when I first started with photography
Mm-hmm.
around 2017, I feel like social media was a place where people shared personal memories,
Yeah.
whether it be travel, family, friends. What did I do this weekend? And then eventually it kind of evolved into more creativity, more of a channel for people to operate different businesses.
Yeah.
And so with that, I started trying to figure out like, how can I separate myself from everybody else?
Right.
And part of that is like finding my own style and how I photograph people. But the
Mm-hmm.
other part is, how do I deliver my product to clients? So as a photographer, it's very easy to take a photo,
Mm-hmm.
post it on Instagram, and keep on going to the next photo, and you just keep doing it. But when it comes to the physical aspect of printing, framing, and the artistic side of things, that takes a lot more work
Yeah.
and it takes a lot more skill. And so I would travel. I always go to like different museums and art galleries when I'm out of town,
Yeah.
restaurants, hotels. And I used to have this idea in my head that people would only purchase photos or hang photos up if it was somebody famous. Because why would they want to hang up a picture of someone who
It's
no
a
one
random
knows?
person. Yeah.
Until I started again traveling and going to these different exhibits, and I realized it's not who it is, it's how the picture was taken,
Yeah.
how it's framed, and how you position it. So that's kind of where the idea for the art gallery was birthed.
Yeah.
I think it was 2021 or 2022 when I printed out my first piece of work,
Yeah.
which was actually a building and not a person.
Yeah.
But from a quality standpoint, I printed it out, I blew it up, and I framed it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the first moment where it hit me like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting. So take me here, because you just talked about a thing where people usually only want to get something if there's a celebrity on it or if there's a name attached to it. So not just the people that are in the picture, but how have you found it to get to this point, word of mouth or whatever it was, to where your name is being sought after for the work that you do? Because a lot of times people only want to deal with people that they know have done X, Y, and Z, right? And so you had to get to a point to where you are right now. How was that journey for you?
For me, it was about focusing on quality over quantity.
That's good.
So I used to have this idea that if I just keep posting,
Yeah.
every day or very frequently, people would eventually know my name.
Mm-hmm.
And I very quickly realized that that's a fast way to burn out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't work for some people, but for me,
Yeah.
it just felt like I was always constantly running and trying to keep up.
That's so good.
And I didn't like that space. And
That's
so
so good.
I kind of scaled it back a little bit and I started to focus on quality.
Yeah.
So that was either me learning through like self-teaching.
Right.
I've done a few like classes with photographers in different cities where I've learned like how to shoot my work
Yeah.
with the best lighting, the best mood,
Yeah.
like how to capture people in a certain way. So over the years, I knew that if I continuously put out quality work, if I have great relationships with the people that I photograph and deal with,
Yeah.
then that is going to be the avenue in which your name spreads. And word of mouth to me is the best way.
Yeah.
Social media helps, but it's the people that I made a personal connection with that really take me the furthest.
Yeah, you're right, because word of mouth got me here with you, right?
Right.
So I think that's important. And when you're talking about the quality over quantity, so it's something that I deal with often. I know in a world full of podcasts and interviews or shows, whatever you want to call this format, you have people that will tell you. I know they've told me a million times, like you gotta keep posting, and so. Um, I don't do that. I believe in the same thing that you believe in. I have to feel it. It has to be organic.
Yep.
It has to mean something. My platform, I have a meaning behind it, a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
And so anytime I get to the point where I feel like I'm just pushing just because people are asking me to do more, or because, oh, you should talk to this person because, they about to blow up or something, like that ain't really my energy, right? My energy is I want to be inspired. And I feel like if that person or what they're doing inspires me, I want to sit down and talk to them, because more than likely they may inspire somebody else.
Yep.
So that's good. That's good that you operate in that way. Have you found it to be challenging, because you mentioned like the first time that you got paid for a portrait, and now this is something that you do, right? It's expected that your services are going to be are going to cost. Right. And so how have you found it balancing when someone wants to hire you for a very specific thing and you still getting to impart your passion and what you like to do in it? Do you find it that people mostly just want what they want? Or is it more like when you hire me, you're going to get an element of kind of what I do in order for this to work?
So in the beginning, it was like I was just taking orders. So somebody would come to me and say, hey, I want to do this thing. They would show me a picture and I would do everything in my power to photograph them to make it look exactly like whatever example they showed me.
Yeah.
And, you know, that helps in the beginning because it's like I have something to go off of.
Yeah.
But over time, what happens is, you know, I start to learn my style, what I'm good at. And then the people that you deal with over time, instead of it being like they're doing me a favor by allowing me to take their photo, that equation kind of flips. And it's like, no, I'm the one with the creative energy.
Yeah.
So now when people come to me with an idea or a concept, I take their idea and I take them as a person and I try to figure out how to make it fit them versus trying to make them look like somebody else's work.
Right.
And part
That's
of that,
good.
again, it just comes from experience.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, I was just so focused on not screwing up
Yeah.
that I didn't have the space mentally to even worry about creativity.
Yeah.
But now it's like, you know, I have all these ideas in my head. So when people come to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this will look great for you.
Yeah.
And here's why.
Yeah.
And I speak with more confidence now. So when I tell people that, they actually trust me.
Yeah.
Versus in the beginning, I was a little hesitant. So
my question is, now that you have kind of identified yourself or established yourself with a certain type of art with your photographs, do you get a lot of people that look through your photographs and say, I want to do that shoot or something just like that? And then are you not in that creative space anymore? Do you try to like steer them in a different direction?
Yeah, so I do have people now that they'll browse through my page and they'll see something I did for someone else.
Yeah.
It might be like I shot someone with a spotlight.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I want the spotlight, or, you know, whatever the concept is. But again, now I can duplicate those things very easily if I need to.
Yeah.
But I still try to make it a little bit different.
Right.
The thing about social media now, and you know this from being in the podcast space, is social media sometimes can dictate what people want because this is what the algorithm is pushing.
Yeah.
You know, these type of photos or these types of conversations. And for me, it's not about that. I still want to do like what I want to do creatively.
Yeah.
I still meet the client where they are.
Yeah.
But I'm not who you come to if it's like something super trendy.
Yeah.
And you just trying to hop on the wave. Like I like to shoot things that will be timeless.
Yeah.
And regardless of what's hot right now, if you look at that photo a year from now, you still gonna feel a certain way about it. And it's not tied to like that moment whenever you took it.
So I want to know about maybe some of the things that were very difficult. What were the moments that were very difficult for you to either learn, things to learn, or to overcome, right, in your journey of trying to get where you are right now?
Yep. So there was a period between like 2017 and now where I actually used to have a home studio set up.
Okay.
So that's where I got like the bulk of my training and practice in, was being able to go into my living room and literally have like an entire studio set up. And so I got very comfortable with shooting in that space. So as long as I shot in that space, I felt like I was good.
Yeah.
The challenges I ran into was with photography, you know, you're on the go. So I might shoot something in Dallas today and I might shoot something in, you know, LA next week.
Right.
So you have to learn how to be flexible with like, what equipment do I use when I travel? Or I'm going into this new environment I've never been in before and I left something at home and I don't have time to go and get it. How do I adjust on the fly and be able to still get it done?
Yeah.
So I've had a few of those situations happen where, you know, somebody asked me to do something and mentally I know I can do it.
Yeah.
And I get to the place where I'm at and I realize I forgot something. And, you know, in the beginning, it was probably easy to tell because I would be nervous or anxious. But now, and I learned something from one of the classes I took from a very well-known photographer. She said, basically, whenever that happens, you have to know how to pivot to figure out a way to get it done. And that's what comes with like actually learning, you know, photography. Yeah. Because it's basically light and shadows.
Right.
And once you learn how to use light and shadows, you might have different conditions where you are. Yeah. But there's something about that space that you can use or do to get what you want. Yeah. And that's where the real professionalism come in. Right. When you hire someone, is like, do they know, you know, how to handle this situation if something adverse comes up? It's like driving a car. Yeah. Perfect conditions are great, but if it rains can this person still handle the wheel and get us where we need to go?
Yeah.
Essentially, when somebody hires me to do a job, photograph them, or something like that, they're paying me for an end result.
Yeah.
It generally doesn't matter how we get there,
Mm-hmm.
as long as they came to me with this ask for this project,
Yeah.
and I helped them get there.
Yeah.
I used to be worried about all the stuff in the middle,
Yeah.
and then it hit me like none of that stuff really matters.
Right.
If I forget a light and I have to do it a different way, and we still create something that's magical or something that meets their expectation,
Yeah.
that's the job,
Yeah.
And then I also realized when you look at like major productions,
Mm-hmm.
so I follow a lot of like magazines or celebrities who shoot iconic photos.
Yeah.
If you go and look at like the credits for the amount of people that it takes to shoot some of that stuff, it's usually, photographer is the one that actually pushes the button and takes the photo.
Yeah.
But you have, studio assistants, makeup artists, hair, wardrobe, like you have all these different people, props.
Yeah.
And so for me, like in the space I'm in now, a lot of what I do is me doing it either by myself or with the help of a small team.
Yeah.
But that's the foundation that you need before you step into that next space.
Right.
When you get the big production team.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a good reminder to me, is like, okay, right now I'm learning how to improvise and do this stuff on the fly when it's just me.
Yeah.
But imagine what I can do if I had like a production team.
Yeah.
Or, an assistant and all these different people that their whole job is to bring the stuff that I need, or their whole job is to set up the scenario.
Yeah.
And I come in and photograph it. So
yeah.
You got to have a foundation in whatever you're doing. And for me, that's where I'm at now. It's like my foundation is becoming very, very strong.
That's good. You mentioned having a team. How important is that to you? Number one, to have individuals that you can call on who are willing to help you out in different ways, but also support from an aspect of maybe family, friends, people that are around you, supporting you by whether it's promoting your work or word of mouth, like you said, or even sowing a seed. How important is that to you growing your business and doing what you do?
Extremely important. I will tell you that like my friends and family probably think I'm the best photographer ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Me personally, I feel like I have a long way to go.
Right.
So that's good because it creates balance. So on days where I'm feeling like out of it or my confidence might be low, I can always talk to one of them and they're like, man, your stuff is amazing.
You're doing it.
And I don't necessarily want everybody to think everything I do is great.
Right.
But again, it does create like a good balance of like when you think about giving up or you just going through like a rough patch, it's good to have like that positive reinforcement.
That's good.
And a lot of those people have been around since I first started. So some people I meet now, they see where I'm at now, but a lot of people like friends and family were there when I literally first started, and they have seen, milestones be achieved over the years.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have that foundation.
That's good. That's good. What's the goal, right? And I'm not saying what's the end goal, because I don't think as long as you're living, there's always going to be goals and things you want to do. But from where you are right now, let's say there's maybe a type of work that you aspire to do, or maybe a type of client that you want to work with. What's the goal for you right now in the next 5-10 years?
I say the goal for me is one, continue to build my foundation that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So that when the opportunities come for me to go into a larger, more production type environment, I'm prepared for that space.
That's good.
But as far as like a business model, I will always do like the digital photography because that's honestly where we are in the world.
Yeah.
But the print is the part of my business that I'm kind of focused on now because from a business standpoint, you can take a digital image and post it on social media. And generally, even if you got paid a lot to do that job, more times than not, that's a one-time, payment. You need this done. You pay me X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
We do the job and we're done with it.
Yeah.
So in recent years, I've started to focus on my print business because I can take a photo one time. And again, I do both landscape, so buildings, places, and people, but I can take that same photo one time and I can sell it 1,000,000 times.
Yeah.
So that's really where I would like to build my
That's
brand,
good.
is from a revenue standpoint, that print work, that's
Yeah.
like recurring income.
Right.
The more I get that generated and going, the more it frees me up to be creative on the photography side, because again, you got the revenue coming in here, and then you can balance it out with like the creative projects.
Yeah. We hear artists a lot on all different facets of artists talk about intellectual property.
Mm-hmm.
And so being in the digital space, social media, right, it's very easy to place your work online, and then people say, oh, I like that. I'm going to take that and I'm gonna get it blown up and I'm going to put that in my house. How do you deal with the environment and the place that we're in this world where like it's so easy to just grab, copy,
Yep.
paste, whatever it is, and someone you may never even meet in this world could have your art
Yep.
in their home somewhere, something like that.
So from I guess from like an intellectual property standpoint, I realize you can never control 100% of what happens to something once you put it out
In the
on
world.
the internet.
Yeah.
So whatever work I post, once I hit send and it's out there, I'm comfortable with, generally whatever happens with it.
Yeah.
Because at that point I can't control it.
Yeah.
To
an extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You can tell the difference in quality of a photographer or an artist once you start to blow it up and zoom in.
Yeah.
So if you can take a photo and make it the size of this wall behind us, and it still looks crisp and clear,
Pristine. Yeah.
that means you have somebody that produced a great piece of work. But if somebody were to screenshot and say, I'm gonna just take this home and blow it up,
Yeah.
they won't be able to, to do.
They're not gonna get the
They
real
won't
deal.
get the result they think they're getting. I'll say
Yeah.
that. So I can't say they won't do it or nobody will try it.
Right.
But I'm not really too worried about that because it won't be the real thing.
Yeah.
Just like if somebody took a Picasso or, and they screenshotted and
And
printed
put it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going. And somebody
Yeah.
that knows the work is gonna know the
Yeah.
difference.
I care about the quality. I think I mentioned that in the beginning.
Yeah.
And the space that I'm kind of getting into now is people viewing my work more so as art. And the people that appreciate that space, they will consume it, they will buy it, they will respect it. And anything outside of that, I just, I either can't control or I don't too much worry about.
Obviously as an artist, we're always looking for ways to have something that kind of continues to drive us creatively. And so it could be something as simple as, hey, I need to get away and go to this place I like to go to where there's a bunch of water and the trees, and that kind of does it for me. Or you may be a person that say like, I like to go, like myself, I like to see what other artists are doing, not so I can do what they're doing, but so I can just say, you know what, that inspired me to really go hard on what I'm doing. Because we have a lot of that. People will be inspired by something and then go do the exact same thing.
Yep.
Which to me is not really a compliment to an artist, right? I feel like if I inspire you, I should inspire you to go do what you do.
Yep.
In the dopest way you could do it, versus like, I see that you could do that a lot of times. And so do you run into that? Number one, do you run into that where people see like, and maybe people that have known you for years, they see you doing something like, oh yeah, how do you do that? Where'd you get that camera from? They want to know everything because I had this idea. I was thinking about doing this. Do you run into that a lot?
I've had a few people that I've seen like try to take something I did or share with them, and then I've seen them try to recreate it, and it just doesn't look the same, or it doesn't have the same quality.
Yeah.
And my advice to people is, it's cool if you're experimenting, but don't take people's money to try to do stuff that you've never done before. Because you kind of gonna start to create a bad name for yourself. And messing up some relationships.
I'll add on to that too. I think ultimately for everybody, the goal should be to be the best version of you.
Yep.
Right. Not trying to figure out how I can imitate or come close to doing something that somebody else is doing. I feel like the artist, and to get to my original question to you, like what inspires you and who inspires you, but the artist or the things even that inspire me, I look at them as um, more so motivational pieces for my creativity than um, like textbooks, right? You know, I want to learn different things. Obviously, we look at different things. For you have to look at other photographers and their work in order to kind of
Yep.
get a gauge of what is considered quality or whatever it is. But ultimately, you're building something that it turns into your own. What inspires you?
Yep. For me, I'm inspired by anybody that has a story
That's good.
that they're willing to tell about, how they got from where they were to where they wanted to be.
That's good.
So that could be musicians,
Yeah.
athletes. I do study a lot of people that work in film,
Yeah.
photography, and I read a lot. So
Yeah.
if I can find a book, I like autobiographies that, tell the background of,
Yeah.
these people who we see as
Yeah.
public figures. Nobody really knows like the real story behind it,
Yeah.
but being able to tap into those things is a reminder that everybody, for the most part, went through something to get there.
Yeah.
They didn't just wake up and become, this big time
Whatever.
person in their craft. Like they had to go through some ups and downs.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing I realized is, 1,000 people can start doing this thing, and everybody kind of starts off on a level playing field.
Yeah.
Some of those people, a certain percentage, are going to become decent. Some will be good, and a few will be great.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at the people that made it to that great level or above,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to figure out how can I get there.
Yeah.
And I realize it won't happen overnight,
Yeah.
but as long as I'm making progress,
Yeah.
then that's kind of what I'm aspiring to get to. Is like I want to be considered as a great at what I do.
Yeah.
And with photographs, it's like I'm leaving behind a body of work that people don't realize it now, but we look at photos of our parents, grandparents,
Yeah.
and you just joke that goes around like you didn't know your grandmother or
Yeah.
your pops used to be smooth back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Like the reason why we know that is because there's photographs.
It was captured.
So
Yeah.
that's why I like, again, photographing people in a certain way
Yeah.
where it's not like a trend. It's more
Mhm.
so this is a photo you can look at 30 years from now and you're going to say to yourself
Yeah.
like, man, I really had it back
I
then.
really. Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if you don't realize it now, you'll look back on it and you'll have something to remember yourself by. So I think that's the thing that people don't think about because we kind of live in the moment.
Yeah.
But when it comes to photography, it's very important just for family legacy and history.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're nailing it. By the way, like when I went to the gallery, this is the first time that I think I've been to something like that where like I was compelled to take a picture with the art.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, when you go to a museum, right, and there's paintings and stuff like that, and then there's even photography in museums, in certain types of museums, but never have I seen one of individuals that wasn't a famous person where I was just like, it doesn't matter if I know who this person is.
Right.
And then I'm all over the place right now, but I thought was really dope about it is that it wasn't just that the photographs were there on the wall, but you had the subjects, the models, they were there. So you got to really see like, oh, this is how they are in person. So that made me appreciate more like what went into making the art what it was, because like here's this person and oh, that's them. Like it looks like them, but it doesn't at the same time. And it's like you created this image, this world for them. Almost a character for each person. What stories do you want to tell? Right? Is there a specific type of story that you want to at some point be able to tell through your photography?
I'm starting to shift focus more so on capturing the times that we live in. So like, what are things that are happening in the world right now that people are dealing with, and how can I capture that photo in a way that it tells a story?
That's good.
It's no secret that with the internet,
Yeah.
AI, all these different things that are going on, it just feels like we're in a generational shift right now.
Yeah.
And so people deal with that in different ways. And
Yeah.
for me, my focus for my next show is going to be how do I capture that story and tell it like in a seamless way where it makes sense.
What words of inspiration, encouragement, even direction would you give someone who's looking to just kind of get going?
Yeah. For me, I would just say you have to start.
Yeah.
I would tell you when I was planning to do that art gallery event, the portrait gallery, the idea to have that event was something I had in my head for probably multiple years.
Yeah.
Because I would go, to your point, I would go to these museums or galleries, and it's mostly like painters, sculptures, and then there's like a little bit of photography mixed in. So I got the bug to have the event, years and years ago.
Yeah.
And every time I got to the point where it was time for me to do it, I would just make an excuse and I would just kick it down the road.
Yeah.
Now, eventually it ended up, happening, and it was like the perfect time.
Yeah.
But for anybody that's considering, just doing something, I would say the hardest part is actually starting
It's getting started
and taking the first step.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you've already, surpassed, a certain percentage of other people who will never even start.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's all about, finding like different milestones along the way that you can kind of pat yourself on the back and say, I'm not where I want to be right now, but if I look at where I started and where I'm at, I'm making progress.
Yeah.
So just kind of measure yourself by your own standards.
That's good.
And not by the standards of people that you see who are already doing it. Because I used to have a little bit of that where I would see somebody that maybe has been doing what I'm doing a lot longer.
Yeah.
Or they have a bigger audience.
Yeah.
And I would say to myself, if my work is on the same level, or I perceive my work to be on that level, how come I'm not getting the recognition? But then again, everybody has a story. So you don't know where they started and what they went through.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to measure yourself by your own standard, your own goals and milestones, and just keep trying.
Yeah.
Keep pushing. There's people that are like, you need to post more.
Man.
You need to,
It's annoying.
why don't you try doing this?
Yes.
And I'm like, that's cool, but
yeah.
It's not really what I want to do.
Yeah.
And we have a limited amount of time on this earth.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm doing what I'm doing that makes me happy, eventually the audience that's meant to consume that will be there.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people think if they don't see you posting that you're not actually doing the work. Yeah. Which is the furthest from the truth. Yeah. Because I'm way better now that I'm not posting as frequently than I was when I was posting frequently. And I think I had like maybe 250 to 300 people that came out to my show. Yeah. I would have been happy if 50 people would have came, but I think there was a couple hundred. And there's billions of people on this earth. So for me to have 300 people that could have been anywhere in the world be there that night
at your show,
to me, that's the foundation. That's the new baseline.
To me, it's the best thing is if you can just stay in your lane, stay in your pocket, reach out to people for insight. Like you said, YouTube University, go to classes, try to study under people, go to people, not trying to get something from them, but just because you want to learn and you want to be inspired and things like that. But ultimately try to figure out what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it and walk that path. And it'll benefit you, but it'll also benefit all the people on this earth that you were meant to inspire in the first place, right? Yeah. Somebody's waiting on you to use that gift that you have. Man, I appreciate it, man. I know that somebody's going to receive something from this that is going to drive them, that is going to inspire them. That's also going to probably remind them that they're not alone in their journey, because a lot of what you're saying is the story of a lot of artists, right? Where I started here, had this kind of moment, I learned, I had hiccups, and now I'm still in this space of kind of growing, where I want to go and what I want to do. So, man, absolutely. I appreciate you giving me your time, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all check my man out. This is Alex Harris. It's the 9 Conversations, now over never. Again, we say now over never, other than now or never, because now or never gives you too many options. I'll see y'all on the next one.
Thank you for watching the 9 Conversations on COTL-TV.
Pink. Red. So red.